Part 3. Number 6. Be specific. Be dangerously specific. Ask specific questions. Answer questions specifically. When someone asks you, "Oh, David, how are you?" Tell them how it feels to feel the crunch of organic lettuce in your salad, knowing that back home you worked in a nearby town that was a food desert in which corporations built factories that left the polluted soil dangerous enough to not be able to grow this lettuce in it. Don't ask people how they're doing. Ask them when the last time was that they felt overwhelmed by awe. Ask them who they were to their high school English teacher. Ask them who they'd teleport in to be with them right now if they could. Ask them the biggest thing their parents don't know about them. 7. Coming from the SFO airport, use Caltrain and not a super shuttle. You'll save tons of money and time. The only downside is you have to walk about a quarter of a mile from the station to your door. 8. Exercise first thing in the morning. Go for walks with people instead of sitting down with them. Move, skateboard. Go to bed an hour earlier than you need to so you can slackline before class. 9. Journal 3 things you're grateful for every single night before you go to bed. Write the most difficult things about your day and press into them until you find your way back to hope. 10. Go to protests and vigils that you don't fully understand. Paint cardboard signs with slogans that you wouldn't have written if it had been your choice. For people of extreme privilege like me, we often won't ever see the importance of issues of social justice unless we actually listen to the voices and the stories of those who are directly impacted by these systems. Know that your liberation is tied to mine and my liberation tied to yours. All of us, don't be a bystander. If you ever find yourself being a bystander, go join whatever's happening. I don't care how, just join. Ask questions from there because you'll never know enough. Don't judge people who don't. Don't judge those bystanders. As a documented student, getting arrested for me was a lot smaller of a risk than for other students. My relationship with my parents is really good at the moment, so telling them I got arrested wasn't a big deal. Keep these things in mind and have grace for others while challenging yourself. 11. Don't waste time asking yourself if you're right. Very few things are black and white. When confronted with a differing view, ask, how can I listen critically and deeply to help me ask a better question with my life? And then live into those questions. I spent dozens of hours and so much stress trying to worry if I or my roommate, who comes from a different faith tradition, was right. I'd watched YouTube videos from different perspectives on each of our faiths, trying to find logical errors or to figure out who was right. I literally started hating having my roommate in the room, not because he wasn't an amazing person, but because it brought up this huge internal struggle in me to see if I was right. Please don't do this. There are so many deeper relationships waiting beyond right or wrong. 12. Ask people what matters to them. Ask them what they're about. Be a freaking Sherlock Holmes and pick up on what they can't articulate. Be clear. I wish I'd thought about the fact that for example, my roommate, who was taking 2 years off after freshman year, wasn't really that interested in dorm community. I wish I could have loved him and myself better in that knowledge. 12.3. 12. You are not a savior. The world does not need you or me or us to save them. The world does not need you to change it. Yes, it needs to change. And yes, that change will often happen by a group of small, committed, radical, fearless individuals. But historically oppressed groups of people do not need me or you, who's not a part of that people group, to come in and tell them how they ought to seek their own liberation. We, in that case, have the privilege of being an ally. But the means will not be glamorous, and often not of our own choosing. They will not need a Stanford degree. They will need people willing to stand radically opposed to the social norm their entire life and resist, 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 and see little happen. They will need someone to fill out a spreadsheet with names and emails. They will need people who listen deeply and who reply with their lives. 13. Stanford is not necessarily a good representation of your aptitude or what gifts you have to share with the world. In fact, it's probably the worst measure of them. So, if you suck at Stanford, it means very little other than, for some reason, you sucked at the system that was Stanford. Secret section, not really a section, number 4. 17. Learn to give amazing hugs. Breathe in when you hug someone. Savor the embrace of a human being. Don't arch your back or bend over. When you see friends in public, throw your stuff to the ground. Throw your bike onto the side of the road and sprint to them with your arms wide open and greet them in a flying hug. If you're in a public or a stately official place, yell their name as loud as you possibly can. 18. Use Vimium for Chrome. Your life revolves around using the internet, usually. Don't live in the stone age of cursors and trackpads and manually clicking and open tabs. Use Vimium. Be a badass. Use Vimium. Use the internet like a powerful tool to which you are the mighty commander. If you never become a mad, crazy, talented hacker, you can at least feel like one. Use Vimium. 18.5. Download f.lux or Flux, which syncs your screen light with your circadian rhythm so you can actually sleep after you work at night. 19. Refuse to be part of a culture that glorifies stress and sleep deprivation as a badge of honor. 20. Don't ever hold anything in your head. Write it down the second it comes to mind. To-dos, poem ideas, nagging questions, insights, write them down. Process everything you wrote down nightly. Your brain wasn't meant to store information. It was meant to be present and powerfully engaged with the people and ideas in front of you. Execute things that are easy, quickly, and right away. When you have huge projects or problem sets, don't do them. Just take the next available and possible step. That's all you need to do. Completing a huge, hard, overwhelming problem set becomes, quote, attempt math problems until dinner time. Go to dinner. Then go to office hours. An overwhelming feeling of homesickness becomes text mom that I love her and that I would love to talk to her very soon. Breathe. 20. Educate yourself to intelligently love other people, especially in the area of gender and sexuality. If you don't know what cisgender is or the difference between bisexual and pansexual, or what gender fluid means, or the concept of what a preferred pronoun is, then you're probably not equipped to love and embrace people for all of who they are. I definitely wasn't. Start Googling. 21. Get up early and do your work. The day was meant to be recklessly spontaneous. Develop a, how about right now, instinct. Dude, we should totally jam sometime, bro. How about right now? Whoa, I'd love to hear more about your sister's art. Hey Siri, call my sister Abigail. You know what would be crazy if like one night at 2 a.m. we went around and like built swings and hung them all around campus and people woke up and there were just swings everywhere. Yo, I just reserved a zip car. Home Depot closes in an hour and a half. Let's go right now. 20. Your life is a story. Give it epic and memorable scenes. Watch sunsets. Climb a tree to celebrate the end of a midterm. Cover your best friend's doors in a 6-foot-tall tree of sticky note love notes. Stargaze on a rooftop you're not supposed to be on. 23. Ask yourself often, what is the true value of Stanford for me right now in my life? For me, pre-freshman year, the summer before, the value of Stanford was largely wearing shirts and sweatshirts with Stanford logos on them and feeling like everyone was looking at me and thinking now, wow, he's really smart. And me feeling I must be worth it. I must be successful and I must be doing things right and valuable in the eyes of society. In most ways, Stanford at the beginning wasn't a chance for me in my actual value of it to create skills, grow as a human, but instead to grab a ticket to success. A success that society had defined for me. I wish I had been more conscious of that. The last thing I would like to leave you with is this. You are enough. You are forgiven. Though the pain and the hurt may still be real. You are forgiven of your shortcomings and your failures. You do not need to hide. You are more than enough.